Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. Me and my co-host Bron are here to preview the Week 1 matchup between the Packers and the Vikings, set to kick off in a couple days here. Bron, it's been a while, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just excited to have the football back. It's been a long off season, and we're finally going to kick it back in gear here with a huge game against the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm just really excited.
I am too, man. It has been forever. I was really praying for some preseason football to kind of get us in the groove of watching football because that's how it's been, our whole lives. But we didn't get that, and now today's Wednesday, and we get to watch an actual football game tomorrow. Probably when you guys are listening to this on Thursday, Chiefs versus Texans. It's just crazy how fast this happened, and with COVID and everything going on, we really were distracted from the offseason. And now football is just 3-4 days away, and it's just crazy. We're trying to get back in the groove of things, and we're a couple of days away from actually watching Packers football. What we wait for all year. So
Yeah, I mean, the idea that we're not going to have any preseason football is just so weird because usually we get that kind of grace period and just watching guys play that are, some guys don't make the team and then getting to see some of those younger guys with a shot to make it. That's kind of eases us into watching Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and guys like Zadarius Smith, the stars. That eases us into watching those guys play. So it's going to be a bit of a culture shock getting to see that, getting to watch Aaron Rodgers throw the football again. But overall, I'm just super excited. So we're going to kind of kick it off here and talk about really the first two games of last year that we played the Vikings and kind of just dig into those and see what happened there. And then kind of look at how those teams changed, over the course of this offseason. And we'll kind of examine what we've got for this coming Sunday.
yeah, and I guess we'll just start with week 2. This is freshly off the Packers beat the Bears 10-3 in just a super low scoring game in week 1. And I was actually at this game. The Packers just exploded on offense in the first quarter. We scored 14 in the first, and then within the first 2 minutes of the second quarter, we jumped out to a 21-0 lead. 2 touchdowns by Aaron Rodgers and then 1 by Aaron Jones. And we were just absolutely killing the Vikings. I'm pretty sure that Preston Smith interception happened in the first quarter.
Yeah.
We were just all over them, and then we went absolutely flat. Their game was so boring until the Kevin King interception in the fourth quarter. We had a lot of trouble stopping Dalvin Cook. I think he broke off that 80-yard run, finished the day with 150. It was just a kind of we started so hot, thought it was going to be a blowout, but we came out on top in the end, and that's pretty much all that matters. But it was that kind of set the tone for the 2019 Packers, just kind of starting out hot and somehow just finding a weird way to win a game. I was definitely scared that the Vikings were not Kirk Cousins was going to pull something out of his. You know what I mean?
No, it's just funny hearing somebody say fear in Kirk Cousins. That's just I mean, I understand what you're saying, but the way you phrased it, Kirk Cousins was gonna pull something out, and really pull a dagger against us. It's just we know he's never gonna do that. But no, I kind of had that same mentality. I feel like that game right there set the tone for the entire season. In that, it was there was the highest point of it was really high ups, and then at sometimes it was really low downs, and that was
Mhm.
kind of our whole season where we were just very inconsistent. And the fact that we could go and score 21 straight points against the Vikings in the first quarter and then fall completely flat on offense, in that second half and even towards the end of the first half as well, that really tells you a lot about maybe it has a lot to do with the fact that the Vikings probably made some adjustments after not seeing this offense before. And then it also has to do with the fact that we are still, that was our second game in the offense. So a lot of that had to, there was factors that contributed to the reason why we, closed it out in a bad way. But I do think there was a lot of positive signs that were shown by Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones and that whole offense. And then the defense did a good job only holding them to 16 points as well. So that was a big game for the Packers. And like I said, it kind of set the tone for what they would do during the season, which was, win games and not the prettiest way.
No, exactly. And in that game too, we got to see pretty much what Aaron Jones was going to be about. He broke off for 116 yards and a touchdown that game, and that definitely set the tone for him because obviously he had his first 1,000-yard season, and he, you know, tied for the league in rushing touchdowns with 16. And also we saw classic Devontae Adams just tearing Xavier Rhodes up. He had his first 100-yard game of the season in week 2 there, and now the Vikings don't have Xavier Rhodes anymore. It's probably going to be Mike Hughes or Jeff Glandy, the rookie that they just drafted in the first round last year, trying to guard Devontae Adams.
Devontae
It's
Adams basically kicked Xavier Rhodes out of the league.
He did.
Basically,
No,
I
he
mean,
literally did.
there was just too they couldn't afford putting up Xavier Rhodes against Devontae Adams anymore. It was like for 3 years he's just been absolutely destroying him, and he got him kicked out of the league. Basically, that's what Devontae was doing to Xavier Rhodes. The roads were completely open.
And that was a Pro Bowl cornerback. Like Xavier Rhodes made the Pro Bowl probably twice during
Yeah,
his little span in Minnesota. Now he's probably the number 2 corner in Indianapolis. Like that's just crazy what Devontae did to him. And
yeah.
Devontae even got Darius Slay kind of kicked out of Detroit. He
Everybody, the whole secondary of the NFC North has changed dramatically, except for Green Bay. That tells
literally,
you something. And
literally.
we're going to talk about that too because we're going to talk about how much of a key that is to all these other games in the NFC North and why that benefits the Packers so much. But like you said, that Kevin King interception kind of sold it for the Packers and gave them the win. And I remember that interception was like almost like a sigh of relief after so much anxiety. Praying that you're not going to lose that 21-point lead and when we got that defensive stop, that was a huge moment for us, and the ability to get to 2-0 was a big part of our season.
Yeah, and then we had to wait 14 weeks until we played the Vikings again, all the way in week 16. It was a matchup for the division pretty much. The Vikings were 10-4 going to that game. The Packers were 11-3. The Vikings had to win out, Packers had to lose out. Packers, all they had to do was go into Minnesota, beat the Vikings on their home turf. They're NFC North champions, and we obviously did that. We beat them 23-10, and that game was maybe my favorite, aside of the Seattle game, as my favorite of the season. Just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, finally, Aaron Rodgers got his first win in the new stadium in Minnesota. It just
Yep.
felt so good. Zadarius Smith had one of the craziest defensive performance I've seen, like ever, as a younger Packer fan. 3.5 sacks, just absolutely wrecking the backfield too. Just that was insane. Kirk Cousins only threw it for 122 yards. Our secondary was on lockdown, and then a nice tip of the cap, Aaron Jones having a pretty much a not walk off touchdown, but a game winning touchdown to just send the Minnesota Vikings home. That game will always have a place in my heart. That was just to send the Vikings home, and not home because they made the wild card, but for us to
Yeah,
reclaim the
it
North.
did. It did feel good to like just like you said, it felt good to reclaim the North, like and all that hard work that we had put into the season kind of came to fruition, and we were able to seal the deal on the North, and that felt so good. I mean, there was no better feeling than knowing that we were going to finally be back in the playoffs, and it was week 16, and we were able to just kind of like relax, knowing we're in. Have a shot at a bye, which we ended up getting the number 2.
Mm.
We were a play away from the number 1 seed, and that was really, in terms of like just pure happiness as a Packers fan in the last 5 years. That was up there for me because we really put it all on the line, and we came through.
No, we did. That defensive performance, we shut them out in the second half. Holding
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins for 122 yards in a do or die game for the division, that's just holds a special place in my heart. Just because
Mm-hmm.
Zadarius Smith, who was people graded him as like a D+ signing for us in that offseason, and he pretty much single handedly annihilated that offense for the Minnesota Vikings. That was just so awesome to see. And then Aaron Jones, 2 touchdowns, 150-yard game. Just I'll probably never forget that. That was just after 2 years of not winning the division, 2 years of not making the playoffs. That was special.
And it also had a lot of the things that we're so accustomed to seeing from the Packers Vikings rivalry. Like, it really was a defensive battle, and there was a couple of big plays here and there for the Packers. Like, I mean, Devontae Adams was, like you said, he cooked Xavier Rhodes, and I think he had 13 catches and I think he had almost 120 yards that game. But Rodgers didn't have a fantastic game. I think he threw more than half of his yards to Davante Adams. It was just we knew how like every play mattered so much, and I remember how anxious I was every play. Just like it meant so much, and we were able to just get a lot of conversions to Davante, and he was really the only guy that was getting open, and every play was just so crucial and it mattered a lot, and they were few and far between, but when they did happen they were big, and they meant a lot to the game. So that was definitely one of my favorite games that we've seen in a long time from the Packers.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about a blueprint for this week 1 matchup coming up, I feel like that game is it. Even though there's not going to be any fans there, it's still going to be in Minnesota on their home turf. I just think the Packers have to do exactly what they did in Week 16. Just feed Aaron Jones, feed Davante Adams. Like you said, Davante Adams had 13 catches, over half of Aaron Rodgers' air yards. Like that's he was
Hmm.
unstoppable that game, 100%. And now they don't have Xavier Rhodes. They just have Mike Hughes and a first round rookie. And obviously they have one of the best safety duos in the league, but still, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is gonna have another 0 touchdown game against them like he did in Week 16. And I just feel like it's Week 1. I don't. Kirk Cousins doesn't have Stephon Diggs anymore. They didn't upgrade that line anymore. You know Zadarius is going to get after them. And it's. I just feel like this is the formula you have to look at.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing different from that last game that you're talking about was the fact that Dalvin Cook was not playing. So that's the only thing we'd really have to make any true adjustment to. Um, and that's going to be difficult because we know how it went last year against good running football teams. We had struggled a lot, especially against the 49ers. The Vikings ran a lot on us too. So um, hopefully Christian Kirksey helps with that, and hopefully just kind of scheming up better ways to stop the run plays a factor in that as well. But uh, I do think that, like you said, it is a game plan that we want to kind of stick to and follow, especially since we are adding things to the offense, but it's going to be down even better for us coming into the second year with Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers. So I think this is definitely the game plan you want to look at. We got to really, like we say every game last year and now this year, we're going to say it every game as well. We're going to have to run the offense through Aaron Jones, and until they show that they can stop him, which is teams haven't been able to do that on very many occasions. Then we'll start throwing the football when we need to. But if we can just give the ball to Aaron Jones and let him run around and do his thing, and then give Aaron Rodgers a lot of big play opportunities off the play action, um, I think that's the game plan for sure. And then you look at like just the Vikings defense in general, it definitely is in a worse position than it was last year because, like you said, Davante Adams is facing guys that really are not even close to anywhere near his league. They're guys that are really young. Mike Hughes was out last year. He was a rookie the year before that. And Jeff Gladney, they just picked him up, and how could they expect him to guard the best route runner in the NFL, right? So, I mean, their safety duo, like you said, is good, but nobody's going to be able to stop Davante Adams on any short to medium routes. So that I really think that's going to be the key. It's going to be feed Davante Adams when Aaron Jones cools down, but otherwise, it's going to be Aaron Jones' show all the way.
And if Aaron Jones isn't working out, we got that, that second round rookie. I just am dying to see. Oh, I can't wait to just see Aaron. Can't wait to see AJ Dillon out on the field. Honestly, man, that's why I was praying for a preseason. I kind of wanted to see Jordan Love throw the football, see how good AJ Dillon was in his first year. Oh, it's
I
disappointing.
know. Yeah, there was a lot of course, the one year that we have a quarterback that's a first round pick. We've got all these exciting players that we drafted. Josiah DeGuara, who we interviewed, AJ Dillon, we also interviewed. Great guys, great young men that are really have a great future in the NFL. Like you could just tell by their attitude, and you know why the Packers picked them because they're born leaders. They're great character guys, and their physical abilities are at a high level as well. And they're going to work in this offense for sure. So it would have been nice to see those guys, but for now they're probably going to really definitely get eased into the offense, and same thing with the guys on defense that are young. But we do have a lot of continuity. That's the one thing that really a lot of teams don't have. The Vikings don't have it. A lot of these teams that acquired guys or drafted guys to fill holes like the Vikings did don't have that same continuity because of the shortened offseason, the lack of an offseason. The Packers really didn't bring anybody in that's going to be playing significant snaps that wasn't there before. You're talking about Christian Kirksey, and that's about it. So, and he's already been recognized as a leader in the locker room. He has a great control of the playbook, and he had a fantastic training camp. So, there's really no concern about any lack of continuity, and I think that's something that the Packers could use to get ahead of teams like the Vikings, who have so much uncertainty. With a new play caller after Kevin Stefanski left for the Browns head coaching job, like you said, a lot of new pieces. They lost Stephon Diggs, and they're trying to fill that role with a rookie. It's just so many young guys, and they're going to have some time to. Another guy, Yannick Ngakoue, they just traded for him, and now we'll get to the injury report for the game in a minute, but he's going to be their big key to the pass rushing aspect, and he's only been there for a week. So there's just a lot of uncertainty in that Vikings building, and in the Packers building, it's a lot more certain.
All right, Bron, let's transition to some injuries that we've seen on Twitter. I know we're a little early. There's been no official injury reports yet for week 1, but obviously people that are at training camp in the Packers facility are tweeting about, who's not practicing for the Vikings. Can you just tell me a couple players that you've seen that aren't practicing and might be questionable or doubtful for week 1?
Yeah, so the big ones I'm kind of just going to get to right away, and they're quite big for both teams. We've got for the Packers, Bill Turner. It looks like he may not be able to go, and the Packers are kind of scrambling to figure out who's going to actually suit up at right tackle. So that's a big one. But on the other side of the ball, luckily, Danielle Hunter, he didn't practice on Wednesday, which is today, and they're saying he's really not looking like he's going to be able to go as well. So the right side of that defensive line, where Bill Turner would probably be playing right tackle and Danielle Hunter be rushing against him, that would be it's really up in the air now, and it's going to be for the Packers. We really don't know. I mean, Matt LaFleur went as far to say, it could be Ricky Wagner, it could be Lane Taylor, it could be, and he even went to say that it could be Elton Jenkins. So many options there. I don't know. He always talks about how they're trying to get the 5 best guys on the line. Does that mean that they, move Lane Taylor to right tackle and put, Lucas Patrick in at guard? I doubt it. I mean, I think it's going to be Rick Wagner. And I don't know. I mean, he's a veteran. He's been around for years. He knows the system. He played in a similar system with the Baltimore Ravens, and I mean, I'm sure he's got the system down now. With that zone run scheme, he did that a lot in Baltimore. So I do think that he should get the start, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Lane Taylor shift to the right tackle spot and bring Lucas Patrick in. But if Elton Jenkins gets moved, I really would disagree with that because he's not a seasoned veteran that can move like that. I mean, I'm sure he's played right tackle at times, but I just think it would be a bad idea to kind of pull him out from a spot where he was playing like an all pro and then kind of jeopardize another spot on the line, and everything would just be in shambles. So that's definitely going to be the key matchup to look at, Bill Turner and Danielle Hunter, because if both of those guys can't go, it's going to be everything's going to be up in the air.
That would be huge for the Packers offensive line if Danielle Hunter did not go, especially with them just requiring Yannick Ngakoue. Those two, that's a freak tandem right there. That would be scary for any offensive line to go against. Especially, I feel like David Bakhtiari can at least handle Ngakoue, but we don't have Brian Bulaga on that right side anymore. Brian Bulaga was lights out for us last year. He held up Khalil Mack, he held up Daniel Hunter, anybody that he got put up against pretty much. But now, is it going to be Ricky Wagner at right tackle? Is it going to be Lucas Patrick? Is it going to be Lane Taylor? Those are not guys that you can trust against like an all pro type defensive end pass rusher. It's just for week 1 at least, if Danielle Hunter doesn't go and Billy Turner doesn't go, I feel like those would just offset, and we can just continue. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and the other injuries that we have to talk about are really, we don't know much about the Vikings yet, but the guys that aren't practicing for the Packers, well, Randy Ramsey's the only one that's not practicing besides Bill Turner. And the guys that we did get back today are Raven Green and Montrevious Adams. So having both of those guys is going to be valuable, but especially Raven Green, because I feel like he's going to be counted on a lot to play next to Christian Kirksey, because losing Kamal Martin, who looked like he was going to get that starting spot, They're probably going to go back to what they did at the start of last year, which is Raven Green going next to Blake at that time. But I think he really brings a different dynamic to the game. We've talked about him a lot on this podcast, but he really does bring a different dynamic to our defense, being able to play the pass as a safety, but also, he bulked up a lot in the last 2 years, so he's a good run defender as well, and got better in that area. So he's going to be definitely a guy that you're going to want to see on the field week one. So it's good to see him back. And Montrevious Adams, this is a huge year for him because, if he doesn't perform, he's surely gone. He's a free agent next year. He's going to have to put together a really solid season for them to even consider bringing him back. So, and he really hasn't shown anything special yet. So we're going to have to see those guys both on the field, and I'm sure Montrevious Adams will see some time if he's able to go.
And also, the Packers put Kamal Martin and KB and Ento on IR, just pretty much meaning they can come back after week 3. The one I'm more excited about, obviously, is Kamal Martin. We drafted him in the 4th round. He's a inside linebacker, one of the positions we really needed to come out of the draft stronger than we were, because we lost Blake Martinez to the Giants in free agency, and you know I definitely think Christian Kirksey and Orr Burks can hold it down in the meantime. And Kamal Martin's obviously a rookie, but still, there's a lot of hype about him coming out of training camp. He had a really strong camp, supposedly.
Yeah, and Kamal Martin was a guy that a lot of people were excited about coming out of camp. He was our 5th-round pick, our 4th pick overall, but a lot of people thought that he was our best rookie coming out of training camp. So, that kind of says something about the talent level he has. And his presence was going to be felt if he did play, but we're going to have to kind of find another way to stuff that middle of the field, and hopefully that is Raven Green. But I am going to ask you, what do you think we have to do in terms of the defensive side of the ball to keep Dalvin Cook in check?
It's just hard to say, man. I look at week 16, like I said, I feel like that is a blueprint, but Dalvin Cook did not play. The Packers defense held Mike Boone and Amir Abdullah both under 30 yards rushing, which was absolutely insane. And they held Kirk Cousins to only 122 yards passing. I feel like it's going to be in the middle of the field. Just look at how we got torn up by the Niners in the NFC Championship game last year. What can you do to fix it? Tackling, 100% in the middle was terrible. I feel like the safeties took terrible roster tackles last year. Just you got to clean that stuff up. Now we don't have Blake Martinez. I feel like Christian Kirksey's a faster option in the middle. Raven Green's healthy, like you were hyping him up earlier. Put him next to Christian Kirksey if you want some speed in the middle there. And Darnell Savage, hopefully he has a year or two bump up from last year, even though he had a great rookie year. And Adrian Amos, obviously a solid vet. Those guys need to control the middle of the field 100%, because you can't have what we had in the NFC Championship game last year. Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, those guys were just running absolutely wild against us. Raheem Moister too. You got to. It starts in the middle. I feel like our edge rushers are good enough to set the edge, but it's the middle of the field. Kenny Clark needs help. You know what I'm saying? Like Dean Lowry, Montrevious Adams, Tyler Lancaster. I feel like it starts with those guys as well at the defensive end position, because I feel like that's where the Packers just got ate up in the ground game. What do you think, Bron?
Yeah, I think you made a really great point when you were talking about the middle of the field, because after last year, in that NFC Championship game, Raheem Mostert ran for almost 300 yards against us. And then what we saw with the inconsistencies of our offense last year, I think when you talked about the middle of the field, that's kind of the one thing that we need to really shore up on both sides of the ball. Like, I think Rodgers needs to kind of target the middle of the field more, and just hit guys in their stride when they are open in the middle of the field. And that's something he has struggled with at times, because a lot of the stuff he likes to do is getting outside the pocket and then throwing outside the numbers. So I think the key to the Packers having more success early and often, on first down, second down, to avoid those long third downs, is to kind of play within the offense and hit guys in the middle of the field. And then on defense, it's kind of the same thing. We have to stop guys in the middle of the field with the guys you talked about, all chipping in and kind of making big plays.
And we actually have some breaking news as me and Bron are recording this podcast. Bron, you just read me a tweet. What we were just talking about, Danielle Hunter. Can you just introduce it for us?
Yeah, so this is pretty big news ahead of Sunday's game, but Danielle Hunter just got placed on IR, so he is out for the Packers game week 1, and for that to be confirmed right now, That is absolutely huge. It gives the Packers time to prepare. And it really does change the game. So I mean, you talk about that. That's a guy. That's their best defensive player. Let's not get it twisted here. That's their best defensive player. And for him to be out is it has a similar impact to what Dalvin Cook missing last year's game in Week 16 has. So if you're talking about a guy that we don't want to face, there he is right there, and now we don't have to face him. That is huge for Green Bay. It is huge for Aaron Rodgers. It is huge for the Packers' precarious right tackle spot. I cannot stress this enough. It is huge.
Yeah, talk about a huge break for the Packers offensive line. The Vikings not having Danielle Hunter rushing the passer and just just causing havoc on that right side of the field is going to be huge for them, and it's going to be a huge break for the Packers because, like we've talked about, we have no idea who's going to be playing right tackle, who is going to be guarding Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter is an All-Pro type talent. He has been named All-Pro before. He would be wrecking havoc all game. Now he's got Yannick Ngakoue on the other side. That would have been absolutely a huge challenge for the Packers offensive line. But now, you never want to root for injuries, but it's just a huge break for the Packers, and whoever is going to be Ricky Wagner, Lucas Patrick, Lane Taylor, they're going to have a much easier matchup now, and hopefully that right side of the field is going to be able to create some holes for Aaron Jones and at least give Aaron Rodgers more time than he would have had if Danielle Hunter was playing.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. I think Rodgers is going to have a lot more time to throw and go through his progressions and make the right plays, and that kind of ties together with the fact that that Vikings pass rush is not going to be the same, and that secondary isn't going to be the same without having some good corners on both sides. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard, MVS running deep. I think there's going to be a lot of chances for the Packers to move the ball passing as well as running. So I do expect the offense to have success for sure, but the key is going to be being able to stop the Vikings in the middle of the field running the football and kind of keep just their passing game, which may take a little bit of a step back this year. And we just got to kind of keep them in check like we did in that Week 16 game. But one thing I wanted to ask you about was the fact that now we're not going to have fans in the building for a first time we've ever witnessed football. It's going to be a whole different thing for everybody. So, what do you think that kind of has an impact on in terms of both teams?
It's definitely going to have some type of factor. Like I just we're watching the NBA playing a bubble right now, and obviously I feel like that had a huge effect on the Bucks and Heat series. I know you're a Heat fan, and you guys just beat my Bucks, but I just feel like home field advantage is a giant factor in all sports, and taking that away, it's going to be really weird. You don't have that advantage of your fans yelling as loud as they possibly can when the opposing team is on offense, or being quiet when your own offense is on the field. It's just going to be weird. And now, as all Packer fans know, that Aaron Rodgers hard count is going to be on full display in a silent stadium. I feel like that is going to be a huge thing. I'm super excited to look for. I hope Aaron Rodgers can, uses that to his advantage, because he does that when there's 70,000 fans in the crowd already, and there's going to be zero. It's That's something I'm definitely looking forward to, and I feel like he's going to be playing that to his full advantage. And I hope he at least gets a couple free plays in week one, because you never know when we're going to finally allow fans in the stadium. So might as well use this advantage. We're playing Minnesota week one, and there's going to be no fans. You might as well treat it like a neutral field, and get this W and use that as your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, the clear beneficiary for the Packers would be Aaron Rodgers being able to, even more than we usually do, kind of run those hard counts and make teams jump. There's going to be, and the one thing that they are doing is going to be having some like artificial audio and fans and things like that, like noise that they will have. But I don't think it's going to be anywhere near. I'm pretty sure the cap is 75 decibels, which isn't really close to what a stadium would bring in terms of fans and things like that. And I don't know what the sound is going to be, but Rogers did say that he doesn't expect to have to use any silent counts, which is huge because if they can even go hard count, kind of trying to get guys the one and that's going to be huge. But the one other thing also is the fact that their calls are going to kind of be able to be heard for everybody to hear. Like Uh, so that's got to be a thing. Every team is going to be concerned about letting other teams and just any play calls be heard, not even over the television alone, but just on the field amongst the coaches and things like that. So they're going to have to mix up a lot of that. A lot of the words they use, a lot of the verbiage that goes into the play calling. There's going to be a lot of things that they have to mix up. So there's going to be a lot of challenges presented by this lack of fans, and then there could be some benefits as well. So we're going to have to see which of those come to light on Sunday.
All right, one last thing before we end this thing, Bron. I just want to know what's your prediction for Sunday, and can you give me like one player that you think is gonna ball out, and maybe just give me the stat line you think he's gonna do.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go with a Packers win here, of course. I just think they're a better football team than the Vikings. I think the Vikings got worse. I don't think the Vikings are even the biggest threat to the Packers in the NFC North anymore. I think that's the Detroit Lions, believe it or not. So I do think it's going to be a big win for the Packers. I'm gonna go 24-10, and I just say I'm gonna go with a low scoring game, kind of for both teams. More so the Vikings, obviously, but I do think there's gonna be a couple hiccups here and there. But I think the Packers get out to a bit of a hot start compared to other teams, and I do think they kind of come away with a double digit victory. And for a player that I think is going to play really well, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to have a huge game. Him and Devontae Adams both, but I'll go with Aaron. I could see him throwing for 3 touchdowns, no picks, and maybe throwing for 300 yards as well. And that would be a welcome sight after he kind of takes a step back the last 2 years statistically in terms of the touchdowns. I'd like to see him get into the 30s again for this season. I do think he's going to be an MVP candidate as well, and I think this would be a good way to kind of start off that campaign.
Yeah, man. If we want to see, another Rodgers MVP run, it's got to start week 1. We've been waiting for it for the past couple of years. It just, kind of just doesn't go his way. He's been having crazy years, touchdown to interception ratio wise, but it hasn't been, able to keep up with Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes' years in the past couple of seasons. So yeah, I agree with you. You kind of had a score that was similar to Week 16's game last year, and I'm kind of with you there. I think it is going to be a little closer. Week 1s are always weird. Like I thought the Packers Bears Week 1 game was going to go totally different. I thought it was going to be a little more high scoring, but that one ended up being just 10-3. So I'm going to go 21-17 Packers, and I do agree with you with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going to have to go with his wide receiver 1 here as the player of the game. I feel like Devontae is going to catch at least 10 balls for probably $125 and at least 1 touchdown. He didn't really catch a touchdown until like week 9 last year, and I feel like that was super uncharacteristic of him. And now, we don't really have a lot of touchdown, catching weapons in our offense, as you could say. I feel like Jimmy Graham was supposed to be that last year and the year before, but it never really came to fruition. So, yeah, I feel like Devontae has to, if he wants to have another like Pro Bowl, All Pro years, might as well start off against this rough cornerback situation that Minnesota is going on, and find another Xavier Rhodes to make his own, because he
Yeah.
obviously got Xavier Rhodes kicked off that team. Might as well. Maybe Mike Hughes is next.
Yeah, maybe. Devontae Adams has cost a lot of people their jobs in the NFL in the past few years, but I guess that'll do it for this episode. We're glad to be back. We're glad football is back, and we can't wait to give you guys more episodes as we go here. And this is going to be an exciting game, hopefully. And uh, Mason, you have anything else to say?
Nah, just ready for some football on Sunday.
Yeah, amen to that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week, and go Pack Go.